We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Boast.
A lot of proud.
15 mile per hour, 5-day serve challenge. Day 3. Today is all about rhythm, right? Get you smooth like the Fonz here. As you guys are pouring in, talk to us about what you liked the most about days 1 and 2. Hopefully you guys have had lots of time to practice all this stuff. Again, we like to build on this stuff day by day, give you digestible things. So by the end of this week, you're cracking big old serves. So come in if this is your first day or just stumbling across this live stream in your YouTube or Facebook feeds. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you've been here for the last 2 days, what your favorite part has been so far. And I suppose I'll give the people a quick little recap.
Yeah.
Days 1, days 2. All right. So day 1 on Monday, we talked really about what we as coaches would consider fundamentals, but what we as coaches also see folks really get wrong a lot, and it prevents everything else from working. So we talked about the continental grip and how the index knuckle is not the only part of the continental grip. It is also the heel pad. So we talked about exactly how to hold that racket to have a true continental grip and how we see a lot of players actually get that wrong. Talked about the serve stance, how to guarantee that you're going to get your hips and shoulders involved. What else did we talk about? Talked about the rear pelvic tilt and how to make sure that toss arm extends all the way up to get more power this way instead of just this way. And then lastly, we talked about exactly how to toss the ball. Quick summary being relieving the bend in your elbow, wrist, fingertips, holding the ball with your fingertips and releasing right at eye level. We then got into day 2, which was yesterday. And day 2 is really all about doing the things that prevent what we call waiter's tray, right? So we see a lot of players end up in this sort of floppy, racket open, strings pointing to the sky position. So we talked about a right to left drill. We started with a passive wrist and worked on a saluting motion to ensure that we don't end up in this waiter's tray motion. Showed you some pretty cool drills with the right to left motion. We then talked about an elbow the ball drill that shows you how to really approach the ball with your elbow instead of thinking about placing your racket down your back. And we capped it off with understanding how to sort of sync the feet with the pull-up drill. That's days 1 through 2.
Yeah.
Starting day 3.
I think it's important for y'all to know that, coaches harp on waiter's tray. Waiter's tray itself, the mechanism of a waiter's tray of simply being here isn't incorrect if you're still in a continental grip and you're externally rotating. The problem with waiter's tray is that like 99% of people, that when their racket falls in this manner, what ends up happening is that they also internally rotate and they hit their serve from here. Even if they get big extension, they hit it from here. And this basically makes it impossible to get into the racket drill. Now, David Ferrer, a host of other players, plenty of players in the WTA, they do have a little bit of a waiter's tray, just meaning that as the racket drops down their back, it drops with the strings up. But the difference is they are externally rotating. So instead of being here, they're getting their arm on the non-dominant side and the racket moves back this way, right? So you can get away with it.
But have a superhuman shoulder to even pull that off,
yeah,
really.
And for most, as I said, recreational tennis, like 99.9% of people with the waiter's tray are pulling their elbow inward and creating that joint position that's just impossible to get a good racket drill.
It's true. All right. Well, day 3 is all about rhythm and getting you guys smooth. So we've talked about a lot of stuff. We're actually not going to introduce too much new information today. We're more going to introduce how to smooth out what you know and start to figure out how to get that racket moving in an actual bullwhip type motion. To start day 3, this is the exercise we have first. Would you like me to go to the workbook or you want to go over to the demo floor first? What are you thinking?
Well, I think we can talk about in the workbook. What's important here is, remember, this was built so that you could take it on court and you can work through these progressions and regressions. So it's just kind of telling you the step-by-step. The main thing here, there's a lot of tools being sold to kind of feel the way gravity works on the serve, and they're expensive, relatively speaking. Here, this should be relatively free. You need 2 or 3 tennis balls. 3 is probably ideal. And then just a long sock, right? Like, so not like a short crew sock. Wait, crew long? I can't remember. Just a long sock. Get a long sock, right? So if we kick it over to demo mode, what this is doing is helping you find this momentum. And we're doing this with the weighted sock. So you got 3 socks and a tennis ball.
3 balls and a sock.
Yeah, that would be 3 socks and a tennis ball would be really.
3 socks and a tennis ball would be impressive. You can pull that off. Let us know.
Oh, man. That would be something. But so here, you're basically mimicking the stroke. You can see here the right to left. But now what's cool is right here, gravity's going to do its job, right? Gravity is simply going to allow the weighted sock to fall. In order to get it back up, you're really going to have to fire your back leg, right? So we'll watch this. So as it falls right there, the reason it's going to go back up is my foot is going to push up, my legs are going to fire through the knee, through the hip, and that's going to raise the weighted sock back up. And now you just keep that momentum working around until it comes back behind you. Again, you pull up to the right to left. Gravity creates what would be the racket drop. And then the pulse up, remember the pulse up drill from yesterday, is what gets the weighted sock back out to contact. All right, so this has been around forever. Scott did it as a kid, 8 years prior. I did it as a kid. That's the age gap for y'all curious at home. But you can still look on the Pro Tour, and you'll see players with their racket. We're going to talk about that next. Or something similar to this, to where they're loosening up their shoulder and just getting into the service motion, right? There's a reason you see so many professional players doing this before they take the court. Maybe they're in the tunnel or they're waiting for the coin flip and they just start going through it.
Yeah, I think for the pro players, they're probably doing this to loosen up. We want you to do it for that, but really more importantly, right, for them to feel the path their racket's supposed to take and how relaxed and how fluid it is. So
that's right.
Really, again, we promise you today is all about rhythm. Step 2 is getting the racket involved, right? So now that you're understanding the weighted sock concept here, we're going to put your racket in your hands, but to ensure that there's no tension, we're going to have you grip the racket with just 3 fingers. And we'll show you exactly what this looks like on the demo stage in a second here. But the idea is that with 3 fingers, when that racket goes up, gravity is going to pull that racket down your back. And when you serve with just 3 fingers, a lot of players, this will be the first time they ever actually feel what correct feels like. Because when they've got all 5 on the racket, they're just squeezing too tight and their racket can't get down their back. But look what happens when I release my bottom 2 fingers. Voila, my elbow flies. Gravity pulls my racket down my back. And so now as I swing with 3 fingers, and I'll show you guys this over here on the demo stage, if you'll press play on the 3-finger drill.
So, well, this one is a kind of a lead-in. These are a little bit of a bonus that we made for the last challenge. We realized, to Scott's point, the reason the 3-finger drill works is because you can go from the weighted sock, but as soon as you hold the racket, you're going to want to grip. You're going to hold it like a hammer. So this first part of this exercise is just simply feeling the racket drop happen.
Right.
Yep. So from
I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry, guys. I got excited.
But this is part of the 3-finger drill. So as your elbow fires up to the ball from yesterday's instruction, you should feel the racket basically work like a clock. It should do this if you're truly holding it nice and loose.
Yeah. So guys, this is what I was kind of just showing you, the example where when you release your bottom 2 fingers, gravity does the work and brings the racket down your back. So once you've got this in motion, then we're going to actually hit a couple serves with just 3 fingers on the racket. I think we have a demo version of that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. So here, the one thing to point out before we hit serves, we revamped this a little bit because we kept getting questions like, I get it, but I don't understand the rhythm, the shift, right? So what you're going to see here is me demonstrating the cadence of left, right, left. So you can see here, my back foot's off the ground. Now my front foot's off the ground. Then my back foot's off the ground. So that's your weight transfer. You're going left, right, left, right? And so as you're working through what Scott was talking about, this 3-finger drill, I'm simply holding the racket with 3 fingers, and I'm just shifting my weight, right? Left, right, left. So if you want, let me show you this actually on the serve. Let's go. Federer's a good one here. So if you take a look at Federer, all the weight is on his front foot.
Can you give him a little pinch in? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think so. Just kidding. Yesterday it worked.
I think you got to click on the screen and then should be able to just pinch it on your browser. No?
No, let me get I got a better.
Yeah, let's give the people something zooming in.
Let's go Felix here. Felix is a good one. All right, so remember we said this is left, right, left. So how do we know Felix's weight is on his left foot? I'm just going to highlight. I'm sorry, his left foot. Is that we see here his right foot, the heel's off the ground. And this is going to happen because you're bouncing the ball, right? So it starts left. And then as he works through his movement, you can see as the racket comes back down to the ground or out to the side of the body, that's our preference to abbreviate it. It will come back to the right foot. And how do we see that? If you notice the yellow square, his left toe is off the ground. So he went left, right, and then as he works through the service motion, the weight comes back to the left, and now the weight is evenly distributed. But we think this part is really important because if you don't understand how the weight transfer works, these drills aren't going to feel natural. You're going to lose the whole rhythm piece of it. So just going back to the 3-finger drill. So left, right, left.
I really like this visual too. If you're watching Nate here, do you mind starting back at the beginning and going like ultra slow-mo? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
It's going like even slower. Yeah. So you're watching Nate here. He's showing you that all of his weight started on his left foot as he goes up to bounce the ball. And then he's shifting back to all of his weight on his right foot. And then when he actually tosses the ball, once that arm goes up, you're going to see him almost sit down as if there was a chair directly behind him. So you'll see the arm goes up. It's time to sit down a little bit as if a chair is behind him. That's how you're going to sync up your legs here. And I think this is one of the harder things for people to really figure out is like how to sync up the timing of our legs with our arms. So when you, for you big tennis fans, you remember Pete Sampras, he would walk up and he had already shifted all of his weight back to his back foot, and he would give you one of these with the racket, right? Most of us are going to walk up and we're going to lean on our front foot as we bounce the ball. Then we're going to settle into whatever we do with our hand and racket hand. And then as the racket arm drops, we're going to shift that weight back into our back foot. And that's what you're going to see again. I'll show this on stage. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but this is really important.
I think it's the most important because this is the one question we get on day 3 over and over and over again, right? And I think Scott made a good point with Pete Sampras. Like kind of what we see on tour is some people will start on their back foot and go right to left. A lot of times we see that. Like Serena Williams is a great example of someone that does that, and plenty of other servers, or the left, right, left. So either left, right, left, or just the right, left. Now we do have a front view of this, and I think this is important because a lot of times players will ask, and they say, well, okay, well, hold on. Like, so what's happening in the front where the racket turns around? And that's what I'm going to show you here. So the figure 8 drill, racket drops down. As it comes back around, you'll see there, I'm just turning my palm up to bring the racket back around. And it's just keeping momentum. That's why it's called the figure 8 drill. You're trying to make a figure 8 with the racket. And I think once you're comfortable with that, that brings us.
Fire away some questions here. There's no chance there aren't questions about this at this point. B-Man, what's going on? But again, look, the most important part of this, because again, today is all about rhythm. It's about syncing up the arms with the feet. It's about understanding how to get that racket drop without it feeling forced. This foot exercise, I think, is maybe one of the most important that you're going to learn. So again, all your weight on your front foot as you're bouncing your ball to set up your serve. As that racket drops, your weight's going to shift back into your butt cheek and your back foot. Then as that toss goes up, then you're going to sink down and sit into your chair. It seems really complicated if you don't break it down into these 3 steps, but I think when we explain it that way live, I know this is like the aha moment for a lot of people that could never really figure out how their legs and arms all play nicely together. So hopefully that helps a ton. Any questions on anything we've covered so far today, feel free to fire them in the chat and we'll answer them as they come through on our end.
So while we're waiting, let's kick it over to demo. I think this is our last one, right? Like we don't have anything after
the figure 8 drill. Yeah, I mean, it's all about the rhythm today.
So what we like is if you kick it over to the demo, put this in. Once you got the figure 8 down, start firing away some serves. You see I'm showing the 2 fingers are off. holding a couple tennis balls here, and I'm just kind of working through the rhythm of feeling it nice and fluid with the two fingers off, right? And you can see, like, don't worry about where the ball's going. Just let the racket kind of flow through. And you start seeing it. You'll get kind of easy pace just with the two fingers off the tennis racket. All right. I think that's really important. Now, we get asked all the time, can I play a tennis match like this? Probably not. It's more of like a practice resource.
Honestly, this will work so well that players will just say, do I have to add the two fingers back? Well, you need to clarify here. You do need those two fingers back because that's what's going to squeeze down on that racket at contact to create that real pop. But look, for a lot of you guys, popping my peas, comment in the actually, let's ask the internet this. How many of you noticed that I pop my peas? I got made fun of real hard at a film shoot just the other day from our whole team. Apparently, I've got a popping peas problem.
Connor Casey needs you in one of his vids, man.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, getting back to what I was talking about here, the three finger concept and just releasing these two fingers. For most players we coach live that can't figure out a racket drop, this fixes it for them because all that was missing sometimes is just there was too much tension in their bottom two fingers where when you squeeze here, your racket can't release down your back. So take this very seriously. If you've really struggled to find that proper racket drop, go out there and just hit a bunch of serves with three fingers. The racket will be too flimsy to get stuck. There won't be tension. So you'll have that real natural racket drop that we as coaches are looking for. And then when you add those fingers back, just so that they're for stability, not to squeeze, right? So it should just feel a little more stable. And the only squeeze that happens comes right as you make contact with that ball. It does look like we've got a couple questions coming in here. B-Man says, you guys recommend just half a serve. It seems like I have more issues implementing a full motion. I'm going to tee this up for you and I'll let you take it away. So for me, personally, and Nate and I have been hanging for a while, but he just kind of decided one day to fix my serve. And he was like, hey, if you pay attention all the way back to like Roddick and you look at some of these next gen players, this whole down together, up together, this whole pendulum motion, it's not really a thing anymore for most of the great players. A lot of them are going from here just right to here. And if you go all the way back to like the Roddick days, that's how his serve, like this is kind of how this got started, I think, to be honest. But you don't need to drop your racket into a pendulum. We found as coaches that's just extra movement that doesn't actually do anything other than confuse you. And we really like getting you away from your arms syncing up and moving together. We don't like down together, up together. We would rather that racket arm just go almost right into that bow and arrow position and that rear pelvic tilt and then start to fire. So why don't we take a look on the demo screen? So you got Shelton up.
Yeah, so kind of the idea here before we get into Shelton is you don't have to just go straight up like Roddick, but working to the side of the body, like really going here and then into motion is really advantageous. And that's like what we're seeing Carlos do. You're seeing Sebastian Corda, Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton. You can go on and on. And the women in the ATP were doing it well before the men were. You had like Caroline Garcia that literally was like starting here. You had Sarah Ronnie that was starting with the racket down the back. But the reason they're doing this is because there's consistency issues to where the timing becomes too much. I experienced this. I worshiped Pete Sampras as a kid. I had this massive lag racket, like face straight down at the court. And the problem is, as I got older and I didn't play every single day and I didn't serve every day, my serve became more inconsistent because there's too many moving parts. The timing was too difficult. So it became, I started abbreviating it. And that's what we see now.
I'll tell you for me, so obviously I've been playing tennis since I was 8 years old. I have had this pendulum my entire life. Nate convinced me in literally one serve to switch to abbreviated. I did it one time and I was like, holy cow. It wasn't something I needed to go put in a bazillion reps on. Like making that switch actually immediately made everything easier. So I think a lot of players will resist a change like this. You're like, oh my gosh, like I've been pendulating forever. It actually immediately makes everything easier because just way less can go wrong.
That's right. I think the best case study was Thomas Burditch. Thomas Burditch, who switched, guy was a perennial top 10, top 5 player in the early parts of his career. And he had a massive serve, but he'd get into these weird service yips and like bad service games where, occasionally he could clips, the big three, but it was rare. And then all of a sudden the end of his career, Thomas, instead of keeping the racket all the way down and tossing and trying to play so much catch up with the racket, basically was just taking the racket and going from here to here. And his serve percentages improved massively. We didn't see the speed really drop off either. So we're going to take a look at Ben Shelton. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Like, he does come down a little bit, but what you'll see here is the racket just starts down in the ready position, but then it really moves to the left of his body. So you can see as the toss starts working up, tossing arm leads, but the racket is out to the side of his body instead of like having to swing all the way down like we used to see with the pendulum, right? And that's what we're seeing on the motion. And we can find serves that are even more abbreviated. Now, if you take somebody like Raducanu, right, even her, where this is kind of what we refer to as the lawnmower pull, Alcaraz does this as well. You can just see the racket tip.
It's because he has a crush on Emma.
What's that?
It's because he has a crush on Emma.
Who, me?
Alcaraz.
Yeah, they have like a little flirty thing going on.
Your service motion.
But yeah, but you'll notice that Emma here, it's abbreviated, right? She's not allowing the racket tip to go down to the ground. She's just pulling it up to this power position. And
Less
she has
is
a great
more.
serve.
Less is more. I'll tell you, a lot of times when people come and work with us live, they just need permission from someone as smart as Nate to eliminate all this extra stuff. I think a lot of players have old school instruction, and they're just like, well, I'm going to look dumb if I just go like this. And then they hit a serve at 20 miles per hour faster, and they're like, that doesn't look dumb at all.
Yeah.
That looks like aces. So you have the permission from a very smart technique coach, Nate Dog Bowling here, to get rid of the excess pendulum racket crap that is not really helping you do anything other than just confuse your serve.
That's right. Tony had a question.
You would get a couple more. Feel free to keep firing questions in here because this is all the content we actually need to cover. We'll certainly tie this up nicely with a bow for you in a summary here that'll be helpful. But throw your questions at us if you have any. So Tony's saying, I'm a lefty with a bad left knee that keeps me from loading all my weight on my back leg. Are there any workarounds for those of us with physical limitations? I'm going to give the really basic answer, and then we'll have Nate, the actual unbelievable tennis coach, come in and tell you what to do.
Oh, stop.
I will tell you, I am a righty with a bad right knee. So you and I are the same, Tony, to the point where I actually technically need cartilage transplant surgery in my right knee right now. So I'm bone on bone at 41 years old in my right knee. But when I'm rocking back to my back leg, it actually starts out stiff. So when you're putting all of your weight on your right leg, you're not bending it yet. So this shouldn't actually be an issue. You should still be able to load, because when we get into our knee bend, we're gonna again rock back forward, and all of that weight's gonna be more equally distributed. So you're not having to put as a lefty all of your weight on your left knee if you're doing this correctly. You should be rocking back to that left leg, and the left leg should actually be straight. Your right toe is popping up. And then as your arm goes up to toss, that's when you're going to rock forward with your knees and equally distribute that weight more across both feet. So I want to make sure you're not thinking about this as we're going to rock back to our back leg and bend it, because you're not. It's actually going to stay straight.
Yep.
Smarter version.
So Tony, I'm going to show you some footage as Scott and I were working with a student. Footage could be a little bit better, but you'll get the idea. And here I'm just really trying to show like how the jump, you can still hit a powerful serve without like really getting this massive air. But the one thing you'll notice with my legs is that I'm essentially just going into my knee bend after the toss. So instead of like trying to figure out distributing weight from left to right to left, so for you, it'd be your left, right, left. From here, I'm basically just going straight into the knee bend with both. This is something that I was showing this student because they were having a similar issue with their back, hip, and knee. So we were trying to make sure too much weight wasn't being put on those joints. So from here, I'm just starting out to the side. From the toss, you can see I'm just going straight into the knee bend. So there's not as much rhythm to it, but I'm just tossing, knee bend, and then going up to the ball. And here, I'm not really jumping at all because this particular gentleman had zero lift. But the nice thing is that we were still able to get his serve to like 80 miles, maybe 90 miles per hour by just hitting, working through these mechanics, keeping the arm loose, and working through everything else. I think that piece, like, look how easy it is. I don't know what I was doing. Look at
You
me.
too. So
Yeah.
easy, even a caveman
Yeah.
could do it.
And this is it, right? I mean, if you've got limitations, you can still serve. Just focus on working the knees together, and then focus on loading energy down. I'm not going to spoil it on day 5, but like jumping isn't why we're getting power. Jumping is what's giving us better trajectory because we're bringing the ball higher up above the net. Now, loading, don't get me wrong, the legs, loading is where 50% of power comes from.
I say this all the time. I mean, one of my favorite pieces of instruction that I ever actually heard out of your mouth is you're not jumping up, you're pushing down, right? Like the power from your legs comes from creating leverage, from pushing into the ground. It does not come from skying into the air.
That's right.
Couple more questions here. It looks like I love hearing this. This is exactly what we want to hear. Yes, this is the permission I needed. You do not need to do this pendulum. It does not do anything. We as coaches get better each year, and we have learned that this is not useful. This is much simpler, and a lot less can go wrong, and you'll get even more power.
That's right.
Also, I think it's really, really easy, selfishly as a coach, to teach this, because all I really have to say is, hey, you've got the ball in your hand. I just want you to toss the ball up and pretend like you're shooting a bow and arrow. Right? And very almost immediately, most players will get into this perfect trophy position. Their strings pointing towards the court. I can get this passive wrist that we're looking for, and it just gets you in position to go from here to naturally drop that racket and then just unleash a powerful serve. So we love this for all the reasons. What are you doing over here?
Oh, I was just looking. So
We're just over here looking at Carlos Alcaraz.
Jean,
Let's get another one
am I
here.
pronouncing that correct? Jean?
Which one here?
No, the bottom.
That's Jane. This is Jean.
Jean. Okay, just make sure. All right, so Jean.
Could you show how we should start an abbreviated serve? How high is the arm?
Yeah, happily. So some players.
I'm gonna move her comment.
Some players will basically start in a power position. They'll start like this.
Explain what a power position is for the people.
So just imagine like what Scott was just showing. Every trophy looks like this, right? It's the trophy position. Trophy position. We just call it the power position. So start with the racket here. I like the strings down this way, and then just basically toss and work from here, right? Now you're just you don't have to focus on all the other things that could go wrong. Now, the little bit more advanced version of that would be bring the ball and racket together and then just move the racket for me as a righty, I'd move it to the right of my body as I toss, right? So I would allow the tossing arm to lead, and then the racket work to the right, and then it would end up in that power position. But at no time is the racket going down below my waist. It just doesn't have to. You don't have the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, we're all about eliminating extra stuff in your stroke that doesn't provide any benefit but does cause confusion. So anytime you can eliminate the excess, we're a fan. A couple more questions here. My favorite comment to date. I'm in Schenectady. It rhymes with vasectomy. Kathy, you should do some freestyle battle rap. I love that.
That was great. I would have never known how to pronounce that had she not.
Rhymes with vasectomy. All right. Tony says, thank you for the answer. I should have clarified. The bigger issue is explosion from the rear leg, but I think I understand that the key is to use both legs. Absolutely. And I missed a question here from Bruce. Bruce, my man, says, should you toss before you start coiling your hips back or during your hip coil?
So the answer here is if you want to toss, players that like to toss parallel to the baseline. So at 3 o'clock, they'll actually coil first, and then the arm will work from here. So this is like Federer, right? You can envision Federer, I almost said Federer. Federer, you can see he worked this way and tossed. The coil will happen first. Now, it's really hard. Like I used to serve that way. I think if you're not serving consistent, you're not serving at a high level, trying to time the toss at 3 o'clock and have it list back to 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock for a flat serve is kind of tough. It's difficult rhythm. For everybody else, if you're tossing more at 1 o'clock, you're going to let the racket and hand come down a little bit, and then the tossing arm is going to lead, and then the racket will work to the right of the body. So ideally, the tossing arm is always leading any and everything. But if you're tossing at 3 o'clock, you'll coil first.
Indeed, indeed. Guys, feel free to keep firing questions away. While you are doing that, do me a favor. If you are getting value from this, please go pick up the recordings to this thing. They are priced intentionally, hilariously inexpensive because we want this stuff to stick. We want you walking around saying Scott Nate added 15 miles per hour to my serve, and that's not going to happen if you don't revisit this information and have access to the workbook that we'd like you to print out, put in your bag, or at least have the digital version on your phone so you can go refer to this stuff. Look, of course, we would love to make money off of this, but again, I just think this is the insurance. It's not like we're pricing this at thousands of dollars. And we do turn this into a course that does cost 4 times as much once this is over. So if you want to rewatch this information again, right now it's $49 on, I believe, Monday morning. We take all these videos down off the internet, and then this turns into a course that we then sell for $199. So
is it $49.99?
$49 even. We're not an infomercial.
Ooh, look at that.
So go pick those things up. Let's see here. A couple more questions. Sonny says, so during the start, the face of the racket is facing towards the ground at the start of the serve before the hand starts to separate.
Yeah, 45 degrees is kind of ideal here. So if you, I can't show you all the way down, but from here, it doesn't have to be like this. I think that puts the wrist in a weird position, but it's kind of this 45. So the strings are off down towards like where my left foot would be. And then as I work through from here, it stays in that angle. As it works to my head, that is the only time that it really changes. But you can see like my wrist never changes from this 45. It's only at this point are the strings pointing down to my head.
Sonny, hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all the questions we've got here in the chat. Day 4 tomorrow is a really important one. We're going to start to talk about pronation, contact point, and wrist snap, and how all 3 of those things will just happen naturally if you do this correctly. You don't need to think about any of them. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, again, noon Eastern time. Again, I can't say it enough. If you want to make sure this stuff sticks, grab the recordings, grab the workbook, PlayYourCourt.com/recordings. We love you guys. We appreciate you watching us live. We will see all of you for day 4 tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Thank you guys for tuning in.
See you soon.